Hello, my name's Kate Mills and I'm delighted to be here with you for another episode of the C-Suite Lunch Series brought to you by Corporate Traveller. I'm delighted to be here today with Josh Glasson, the MD of Australia and New Zealand for DiaSorin. He's going to talk to me over a fantastic lunch about his career, his business successes, and give us some insights which I'm hoping you can apply to your own businesses. Hello Josh, lovely to be here with you today.
Kate, it's a pleasure. Lovely to meet you.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Hello.
I'm Eric, Executive Chef for Atelier. So we have for lunch today pâté en croûte. It's a traditional bistro dish food as an entree. And then we have barramundi. For sure, we cannot go without barramundi here in Australia. And then for dessert, we have floating islands.
Sounds divine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Enjoy your meal.
Thank you. Wow, that sounded amazing.
It does sound lovely, doesn't
can't
it?
wait. Now, we're here to talk about DiaSorin, your business and the successes behind it, but started off by telling me a little bit about DiaSorin. What would be an elevator pitch for that business?
Well, DiaSorin in the area of clinical diagnostics. So we're in the area of helping doctors and clinical laboratories supply the right result at the right time.
So how did you start off in this career?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to get an outstanding on-the-job training at Prince of Wales Hospital in Sydney, and was connected with some of the top clinical haematologists and pathologists in Australia and some of them in the world, and learnt a lot about disease, detection of disease, monitoring of disease in all sorts of different areas. So on-the-job training from some of the top clinical pathologists in Australia really helped me learn more outside of university what the industry looked like.
Okay, all right, so you're going down this path of being a scientist, you're working at Prince of Wales. When does the inflection point become and you become a businessman?
Well, quite a few years later, I still had more to learn in terms of the industry. So I spent some time at St Vincent's Hospital in Sydney and overseas at St Mary's Hospital in London. I came back from overseas and also worked with now a global healthcare company called Sonic Healthcare.
Right.
I spent 3 years working with them as well. So I spent quite a deal of time in my industry at the clinical interface, if you like, servicing clinicians, issuing diagnostic results. So probably wasn't for another 12 years before I really started to venture away from that pure science modality into business development and R&D and other areas that I was also inside me that I was finding more and more interesting.
Just a butterpear Chardonnay, Le Comtesse from Rylstone, New South Wales for you, ma'am.
Sounds perfect, thank you very much.
Can I get you a taste first?
I'd love a taste, thank you. That's
Yeah.
one of the benefits of being the female at the table. Is
You get
that
to taste first?
You always get to taste first.
You're a bit of a shardy person? Is it a wooded or an unwooded shardy?
It is a wooded Chardonnay. It's 100% Chardonnay, very French style.
That is absolutely beautiful, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So tell me, what did you learn from that process? I mean, you're working in large large corporates essentially. You go out by yourself,
Yeah.
you talked with a lot of headwinds. What was the big learning you took away?
I think the number one learning is no matter how dedicated and focused you are, it's hard to do everything on your own. Having a team and going and building something significant, you need the right team with you. You need like-minded people, and you need the skill set to bring people along the journey with you.
So pâté en croûte with some pickled walnuts. And for you as well, sir, pâté en croûte with some pickled walnuts.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Josh, let me ask you just about that. Is it fair what we think about scientists, that they're better at the technical skills than they are at the softer skills?
It's probably true, but not exclusively true, of course. I mean, some of the most amazing people that I've met have been proper scientists and had amazing human skills. Just being 100% task orientated or clinically orientated or whatever is probably, I've learned people buy from people. People work with people, and that's a really important lesson that I had in my life. So I thought that was really important for me to learn, grow and develop people, human skills. So
Because to me, those skills are uniquely CEO skills. So CEOs come from all types of different technical backgrounds, but one thing they all have in common is they're very good at those human people skills.
Yeah, I just don't think it can be underestimated, developing people skills. And I suppose the more people that you're responsible for in an organisation, the more important it really is.
So you're at Roche in a BDM role. What's next?
Well, I had a really great experience at Roche, and I'll be forever grateful for that. And I felt like it was time to move on to more responsibility and maybe just pivot out of my comfort zone. Can I do this outside of clinical pathology? Can I do it outside of my comfort zone? The people that I know in the industry, do these skills transfer? So I went and moved into a medical device, which to the layman might sound like the same industry, but it's actually quite different. So I was lucky enough to work for a company called KCI Medical for 3 years, Kinetic Concepts, who are really involved in innovation in the area of wound care. So I found that scientifically and clinically interesting, and I found in terms of the commercial side of the experience really rewarding and challenging. To all of a sudden my customers were directors of nursing or directors of finance or directors of surgery, those kind of areas. So I really enjoyed that and did that for 3 years.
So essentially you worked there with DiaSorin for a few years in Australia.
Yes.
And then you move over to be the managing director of the India
That's correct.
operation. So that's your first time in an MD role.
That's
I mean, because
correct.
you're a scientist, you've been a BDM,
That's
and now
correct.
you're in an MD role.
That's
How was
correct.
that? Was it what you expected?
Oh, it was wonderful. It was wonderful it's such a tremendous challenge, because you're absorbing all of the cultural side of the business, the people, the diversity. In India, there are, when I was there, I think 32 different states. And within those 32 different states, different kinds of cultures and different kinds of sensitivities required from a managing director in terms of helping people get the best out of themselves and helping the organisation grow under that environment as well. So, hopefully I was able to give also in terms of passion and entrepreneurial spirit and a sense of organisation and focus. We were able to get a wonderful progress for our company over there. And after 3 years, I was able to recruit my replacement, which was a person born in India and who's a natural replacement, is still there to this day, sort of a few years later, and doing a wonderful job.
Is adaptability the secret to your success?
Well, I think it is. Somebody else may have a different view, but certainly it's something that I'm highly conscious of, is that adaptability, a proper adaptability, is understanding your market environment. You don't just adapt for the reason. You don't just change for no reason. You adapt to your environment by understanding your environment, understanding that need. If I had one message to other business leaders out there, is how important adaptability is to survival.
So just the barramundi with a wasabi crust for you.
Beautiful.
And for you as well, sir.
Thank you, Ishan.
You're welcome. Please enjoy.
Thank you. I was actually going to say, it sounds to me that India had a very big influence on you.
Yeah, I think so, and I can even see the impact on my children years later. So very positive impact. But I think challenges bring out the best in you as well. It was not like it was all smooth sailing. It was challenging. But,
Was that the most challenging period of your career, do you think?
I think certainly in one way it was. Working in a joint venture 50-50 organisation as a general manager there brings its own set of challenges in terms of melding two cultures together and getting a successful, meaningful operation going was a challenging aspect of the experience for me.
So you come back to Australia, and I know that since then the organisation has had significant growth. Tell me about that growth.
Well, the growth has come from a few different areas, but the most pleasing thing is that our core business is growing at around about 12-13%. Now, the market's growing at around about 3%. So we've been doing something right in the area of our core business, which is immunology. And really, if I was to ask, why that growth, why that success, it's the people. It's setting up the organisation in a way to allow the people to get the best out of themselves. We keep saying people buy from people. So building the capabilities in our organisation to represent our brand, represent our products, be considered trusted advisors and consultants rather than cheap salespeople and those kind of things. Just building in that area has been, I think, a really important part of that success.
So that sounds to me like cultural change as much as anything else.
Cultural change, and absolutely. And when you asked me before, what did I bring back from India? I think that that certainly helped me. That experience in India, bring back and drive cultural, not change for change's sake, but development, but growth. And certainly I engaged an HR specialist early on my return to help me first audit the entire organisation in terms of the culture, in terms of the risk. And then from there we were able to develop a learning and development plan for each and every staff member, and just have them fully, truly engaged in the organisation and their development, their growth, because I think everybody works hard in Australia. People work long hours, people work hard, they give a lot of themselves. People want work-life balance. They want a successful family as well as a successful career. And I think if you're an organisation and a culture that demonstrates truly that you're committed to that for your employees as well, then you're going to get what you ultimately want, which is trust. So that's been the number one thing for us in terms of culture for the organisation.
So that's incredible. Like I say, the industry is growing at 3% and you've been growing at 12 to 13%. What else do you think that is down to? I mean, some of that is top line growth, but obviously net profit as well. What else have you been doing?
Certainly one of the opportunities that you get when you return to a role, return to an organisation that you've been in before, is you're not coming in stone cold. You know the customers. You know where you've had success and where you can continue to go, or where you need to adapt and evolve in order to stay successful. But in terms of course, it's not just about top line, it's about EBIT, it's about what's happening with your costs and where are you spending your money? Are you spending your money in areas of investment? That's going to give me more growth. Are you wasting money in areas? What are the things that are important to your employees? And I suppose, that's where Corporate Traveller have been such great business partners for DiaSorin. Ben and his team have really collaborated with us a lot, quite frequently, optimising the way that we consume travel. At our organisation, we travel a lot. It's a big part of getting the results that we need, but it also means you're away from your family sometimes and those kind of things. So that experience has to be spot on and optimised for the experience, for the employee, but also in terms of efficiency and cost and all of those kind of things as well. So we really spent a lot of time in improving that aspect of our business, and just overall in terms of OPEX. So not only are we continuing to outdo ourselves in terms of top line, we really have had a strong look at our bottom line as well. So, we've been able to double EBIT over the last couple of years, which is fantastic. I think that business partnering process has been an important part of our top line growth, but also in terms of our EBIT growth as well.
That's a meringue with passion fruit chocolate, and for you the same, sir.
So thanks, Josh. It's been absolutely fantastic to spend lunch with you, and a really fascinating story.
Thanks so much, Kate.
And thanks to you too for tuning in to this episode of the C-Suite Lunch Series brought to us by Corporate Traveller. My name's Kate Mills, and I'm very much hoping you'll tune into the next episode.